Remember you on camera.
Well,
That's right.
not
Hello,
yet.
camera.
Not officially yet, are we?
I checked.
Yeah, we'll start it. That's when we'll record, huh?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so still be careful what you say. I know. Yeah. Well, farmers market?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you guys are on the start. Yeah. I guess, are we rolling yet?
Well, I think we have 12 o'clock here on the screen, so I think we would be
safe.
we're safe to.
So which one we
Go ahead and.
All right, well, if that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order for the Central Business Committee, July the 28th. And I would like for us to stay as close as possible to the agenda for everyone's time that's not on the clock. That's two votes. Anyway, let's start.
Well, I agree.
So we're going to turn over to Andrew to get us started.
Very good. And so we'll go ahead and just launch into item A on the agenda, which is a special events update, which is very exciting because we have our new special events coordinator, Rachel Benson, here as well with Marty Gordon, and we have events to talk about, which is fantastic. Yeah. So with that, I'll go ahead.
Yes, we've got lots of events coming up this fall. So first I'll go through a few of them that we have that are not sponsored by the town, but we will be assisting, whether it be staging, stuff like that. So Heritage Day is coming up August 21st. That is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we have that going on downtown. And then the Wilderness Trail on September 18th. And that's 9 a.m. to 4. Of course, downtown as well. And then the rest of the events are all sponsored by the town. So we've got pretty busy September and October coming up. So really exciting because I know a lot of things have been shut down, and 4th of July celebration was kind of our first outing back. So we're excited. So first one up is our Rockin' Main Street on September 11th. So that will be 5 to 9 p.m. We do have a sponsor for that. So Hampton Inn is sponsoring that. They are providing rooms for one of the bands that's coming from out of town, and then also, I believe it was $2,000 as well for naming rights for that. So we have that. We've got two bands, for that evening, and we're going to be promoting and marketing that as kind of a post-game concert. Tech has a game that day. It's their early game.
It's in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge game, but still people will be in for the weekend.
Yep, and there's a minimum 2-night stay, so we're hoping that people will, even if they're from out of town, will come down and enjoy the concert. So we've got that ending at 9 o'clock roughly. They might go a little bit past that, but and then on the 18th we have the 8-mile Bridge Challenge Walk that we will be hosting. So I've been working on getting that up and going. We've got registration. We just opened. We've already been, Morgan said, getting some phone calls about that, which is good. So we've got that registration open, and it's up on our website. That's going to be 8 a.m. to roughly 2, just depending on the group of folks we get and how fast or slow they walk. We are keeping it to 60 participants again this year just because of transportation with that. So we're going to use archery bands and then the aquatic center stand, and then also their short bus that they've got over there. So we are giving them also the option, if they want to provide their own transportation, they can do that. So if they're carpooling and walking with someone, they can meet us at the library, and then we'll have a way to get back there. So if that is the case, if we have some of those folks, we will go above 60. 60 is just for the transportation piece of it, really. So. And then we have our second Rockin' Main Street on October 2nd. So this is going to be a pretty busy day. So we have that from 3 to 9 p.m. There is no tech game that day. So we've got 3 different bands coming, starting at 3 o'clock. We've got some local folks coming out, and then the last band is, the Jason Damo?
Jason Damo.
Yeah. So he is from Blacksburg, but lives in Raleigh currently. And so his band's going to be coming out to play, so he should have a pretty good following here. We're hoping, working on food trucks for both that and the Rockin' Main Street. Running into some challenges just because of a lot have gone out of business in the past 1 to 2 years. Also on September 11th is Old Salem Days. the tech game, plus there's a big festival in Franklin County, I just found out yesterday. So that day's proved to be a little bit more challenging with food trucks, but we have now, I think, 5 confirmed. And then for the second Rock and Main on the 2nd, we have, I believe, 7 confirmed for that day. So,
And I did know that the notice that was sent out for a call for food vendors, it was also for local restaurants as well.
yeah, so as long as they have the correct permitting, which after talking to the Department of Health, it's a pretty simple process for them, then they can come out and do it as well. So we're reaching out to basically anyone that wants to come out that can provide food and has the proper permits and inspections, are able to come out. And we've got a few that are restaurants, but they also will do tents for catering and such, and so trying to get them to come out and do sell some of their food. So
does that, like McAdoo's, can come out on the
exactly.
street?
Yep.
Okay.
So they could come out and do it there. Brad gave me a couple of different places this morning to reach out to that are locally, because we want to stay as local as possible. It's just hard with these competing events. So we're having to reach out to, Lynchburg. I reached out to some folks in Richmond yesterday, but any local restaurant that wants to do that, they are more than welcome as long as they've got the permits and stuff. So
Okay, there you go. I want to make sure that they also know that they can just open their doors
yes,
and try to welcome people into the restaurant, and it doesn't have to be on the street.
right.
Because I don't want anyone to think that there has to be extra money or permitting just to try to keep up with an event.
Exactly. And I know the July 4th event, McAdoo's did really well. Because I walked in and got a couple of sweet teas a few times, so they did really well that day. And so we don't want to, discourage them or have them shut down as a result of the event. It's for our community. And so I'm going to go visit them later this week and introduce myself and invite them to come in if they want to do a tent. If not, then that's great. Keep your doors open. We still want people to go to McAdoo's, definitely, so, or any of the local businesses.
Yeah, I think most have to keep the doors open anyway, though.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I can tell.
Prime example was Gigi's Cupcakes on July 3rd.
Okay.
When they get their permit for inside premise, they also can check a box to get the permission for off. So they have the permission to be off-site too. So a lot of the restaurants do have that capability.
You said something earlier about a $2,000 for naming rights.
Yep, for the sponsorship of the Rock and Main on the 11th of September.
Okay, I'm looking.
So it's
How does
on
that
all of our flyers, any publications, it's going to say sponsored by Hampton Inn
Okay.
on there, and then they gave us, like I said, I believe it's $2,000 rooms for one of the bands that's coming, and then also they're going to get a board, right?
Yeah, it's not in cash, it's in kind, the rooms for that band and for the second band coming up. But they are getting a sponsorship billboard inside the rec center that they will be paying for.
So is this for all the events or
Just that one event.
So how do the businesses know that they can sponsor the event?
That's something that I'm going to be working on, because I really want to go, especially going into the spring season, of us having a series of concerts rocking on Main and have it presented by this organization and it's for the season. Because I think it could be confusing of, so on the 11th it's sponsored by Hampton Inn, and then what is our verbiage for the one on October 2nd? Does it say sponsored by Town of Christiansburg?
Okay.
So, and that could give the appearance that we're then sponsoring our own event. It's a little odd. So when I found out that we got that sponsorship, it's great, but I think consistency-wise, we need to do that. And it's a way to bring in revenue as well, and promote different businesses. So looking forward after these, I want us to really focus on, we've got the series, we're going to plan on doing a series in the spring, summer. Let's get one sponsor for all of those as you're naming rights for it.
So question, how many hotel rooms are they offering in exchange?
The final number, I don't know what's in the contract, but for that band, they have 2 rooms for that night.
So they're getting naming rights for 2 rooms?
No, there's a package of rooms that we can use for other.
I just want to make sure that gift in kind are sufficiently credited and not, you get naming rights for example, $2,000.
That's 8.
Yeah,
that's
you don't
8
devalue
rooms,
it.
8 dates.
As long as you feel that value
only 2 of those are being used that weekend.
And that's
because
probably a
they're
low
from out of
ball,
town.
because you're talking about, different weekends, it's gonna be different prices for the Virginia Tech weekends.
Gotcha, okay. Is there anything that we have in writing to show, like, what it would take to be a name sponsor? You know, so we have it all set and we're not changing it based upon gifted kind, and do we have that?
We have a sponsorship package at the rec center for all events, but it's being expanded to include this and all the other ones too.
Gotcha. Is that something we could get Randy, just like the? like
Yeah, right, I mean, we can, get what we have right now, but also I think, as Rachel was saying, that we really are looking, you know, we're on board now to expand it and develop it and formalize it, because it's something that we really haven't really had to do before, you know? But I mean, now that we're looking to do events consistently, you know, and we have the Rock and Main series kind of, you know, kind of, well, we have it identified, and it's starting to pick up a name for itself, and so we want to stick with it.
And I can
Yeah.
see that happening with the new
Yeah.
park too, so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that'll be a whole separate, you know,
Mhm.
subject, you know, to discuss with council regarding, you know,
Yeah.
sponsorships and with the park as we get into that.
Yeah, I think we're on the same sheet here, that we
Mhm.
don't want to seem like we're favorite, you know, one company
Right.
out of business or whatever. That's why I asked, how do we get the word out and stuff like that? So apparently that's what you were working on.
Yeah.
Just getting, okay.
And that way, like we said, we don't devalue one of our events by selling, you know, short selling it, but also provide opportunities for local companies that can do different things as well, so.
Okay.
If we could just be in the loop on that, that would be great.
And to note, on this sponsorship, they approached the rec department.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And then also on October 2nd, we have our fishing rodeo, which will be taking place. So Nick is heading that up. And we have a tailgate party at Christiansburg High School on the 22nd. So that is going to be pre-game of the high school playing Patrick Henry out of Roanoke. So we're going to be doing some different things out there just to get the community to come out, get them excited, support the team. Originally, we were trying to do the first game of the season, home game, but we weren't able to get that date. They've got stuff already lined up for the team, but we were able to get the 22nd, so we're looking at getting things confirmed. It's kind of a busy time for the high school right now, leading up to school, but trying to get things confirmed with the exact location. I know that we've got some construction that's going to be coming up, and so what will be going on then at that point, and where can we be located? Our hope is to be located as close to the stadium as possible, but just do some fun things with the kids, hopefully get some hot dogs out there, do live remote of the game, the pregame there as well. So that's still definitely developing at this point. Waiting for the school to hear back about location and such. So, and then last event for the fall through October, I should say, is our Getting Scary on the Huckberry 5K. So we're excited about that. That's going to be on October 30th, that Saturday. I've done some research, and there's no 5Ks or races that have that type of theme on the 30th within 90 miles of us. So I think we can do really well that day, especially because it's not on Halloween, so people don't have to think, oh, we've got to rush home and get ready. We're going to be able to have our own kind of Halloween celebration, but also I think, like I said, we can do really well with participation that day, especially if we can get some good fall weather. But we're looking to get some local running groups involved. Runabout will obviously be involved in the event, but also reaching out to these running groups and getting them to come out to the event. So.
Okay. And the 8 miler, it sounds like it starts at the library.
At the Blacksburg Library, and then walk back to the rec center.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
So I do have a question about the event. Have we contacted DCI for their assistance? I mean, this is one of the meetings that I would like for them to participate in, you know, because they are the downtown group. Does anybody know?
I've met at the farmer's market, Ellie from DCI, and then we've talked through email several times. So that we're in connection with them for the October 2nd event. That was originally going to be their food truck rodeo, and then they're not able to do it this year just from an operational standpoint. And so that's why we picked up that date to be able to do an event. We're just going to do the Rock and Main, mostly so there's not a branding confusion between the two events. So they're going to help us with that. They're going to be they're doing the alcohol sales for that day, and they've also given us their food truck list for that event from 2 years ago that they did as well. But for the other ones, I'm not sure. I know from my standpoint, I haven't reached out. I'm not sure if anybody has prior to me getting here for the other two. So
They are still invited. I mean, they've been invited to these meetings, so I don't know if let's have other things on the agenda or
Right,
something.
yeah, I mean, since Sharon has not been on board as a part-time employee, it's been a little harder to get coordinated with them, but
And
certainly I think it's a matter of,
it's a matter of a lot of things.
I didn't want to
It
get into
is, and I'll
I'm
put
sure.
it on record.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They've been run through the coals unnecessarily, which means negative publicity. The president has been run through the coals for no reason, which has created more negative publicity. They've lost one of their staffers because there's not enough funding anymore. So it's a multitude of things that I feel is not their fault, but they are bearing the horrible brunt of those discussions. And therefore, we'd love for them to participate more downtown, but with everybody also working, there's no staff funds. So things aren't going to get done. And that's another discussion that I have started and will continue to talk about is our funding to possibly help DCI. If not, we're going to lose them. And there won't be anybody to help us with downtown. And I think it would be an absolute tragedy if that happened because of negative publicity from someone that shouldn't have.
Okay.
So that's on record.
Okay.
But that's why it's so important
That's what,
to reach out to DCI because they are there to support the town. And if we don't communicate with them, they're not going to be able to communicate with us.
right.
And it's a horrible relationship. And so I feel like we need to include them, even if they say, I'm sorry, we don't have the staffing. We do need to reach out and keep that communication open. And that would be Ellie or Justin.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just
Okay. Next. I guess, I don't see your name on here.
we had the farmer's market update?
Yes.
the man who has 750 visitors.
Well, that was 2 weeks ago.
Drum roll.
Santa Claus down there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marty.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
To specify on that, but we continue to see rising numbers. The temporary site has allowed us to do two things. It allows us to have more room and more visibility, I think, in a lot of ways. In the month of July, we saw 425 the first week, 748 2 weeks ago, and 572 this past week. We were affected by on the first part of the month, we had a completely rain out that just shut down the market. We didn't even get started. Vendors have seen an increase, this through the roof. One vendor last week sent 2 employees here from 50 miles away, and they sold $800 worth of stuff. And he said, well, I thought you told me that was going to be a down day because of Floyd Fest. Attendance numbers it was, but the vendors are seeing numbers just through the roof. On July 15th, vendors reported over $4,000 worth of sales. So, that's almost triple some of the ones we were seeing last year. We had 2 specialty markets of honey and, of course, Christmas in July, and they were both very successful. Robotics Day was held this past week. It attracted a lot of attention. They signed up as many as 20 kids to the robotics program, and it's part of STEM. It's a spin-off. It's called Southwest Virginia First. The regional directors were here from Abingdon, and they thought it went over so well. They're going to do the entire presentation that they did at the farmers market in Roanoke this coming weekend because they were so impressed what we were able to set up for them and what they were able to do, and the kids come out and had a blast. And the The kids even learned how to do line dancing towards the end.
Yeah, they did.
We won't say who their instructor was, but you
I got video.
So,
And that's the Basses, right?
The
Lisa
Pan-
Bass and Henry Bass.
yeah, and pandas. They were the pandas. They're the ones that did some of the artwork around town.
Yeah.
But they're known internationally for their competition, and the kids just loved it. And we had robots running through the market and different things.
they even allowed me to stir one. Because it was fenced in, so it took me so far.
There's one slight decrease that we've seen this year, and I think that's because of the change of location, is the use of the EBD card. To be honest, we're seeing a whole new clientele at this new temporary location. I have not seen a lot of the regulars, and I've reached out personally to a lot of the ones that used to come to the Hickok location, just to see why they're not coming. Some of them are saying transportation.
Okay.
Some of them are saying, accessibility to, walking and different things like that. It's just there's a various things that are showed that the reason they haven't been attending this year. And I think we can still correct some of those, even looking with the transit situation, that maybe on that day we could do some special things. But the use of the EBD card should be increasing because of the pandemic EBD card. Because most of the residents of Montgomery County are getting money for student lunches through the summer. They get completely covered, almost all of them do, and they can use it at the farmer's market, and we will match up to $20 for every purchase. So if they run their card for $20, we give them $20 in tokens, then we give them $20 more, and that's covered under the grant that we have. We're not seeing a large usage this year, so we're going to do some marketing to push that here shortly.
You think that could be due to time that really there's not a lot of produce out right now? Because that's what I like to see. I mean, we can't control that, but I just haven't seen a lot of.
They can buy any type of product that's cooked or made, except for like food trucks. They can buy the meat. They can buy the fresh fruit and produce. They can buy baked goods. So we're just going to try to get the message out that those are there, especially, we want to be a nutritious purchase, but there's a lot of things they can purchase that, ties into the lunch program at the schools. We had 4 new vendors this month, and was happy to, in the last 24 hours, signed on 2 more new vendors, and 4 applications are out. So we could have as many as 10 new vendors by the start of August.
What happens if it grows? Are you going to take more space in the parking lot?
There's space there. It's just the way I've laid out, we still have more space. And we are allowing right now some of the vendors to take up some more spaces. That we'll just tighten it up a little bit, social distancing, compact a little bit. The big thing that we're going to see is we have the farmers starting next week. We'll see an influx of sweet corn. They're going to start bringing it in by the truckloads and wagonfuls. There's 2 farmers. One's coming from Bland and the other one's coming from Floyd. It's going to bring in a lot of sweet corn. So that's going to be big, in what we're doing. And you talk about the produce.
Yeah.
We are seeing tomatoes. We are seeing potatoes. We're seeing almost everything across the board now. It's in limited form right now. But one of the new vendors is nothing but tomatoes. So if they start up, they're going to do a tomato stand. So we should start seeing that. Again, that comes back to the growing season. We also, a big thing that we need to help, you all can help to get the word out, is we're still doing the Christiansburg Pharmacy vaccination pop-up market. They need more response, and it is free, and they're going to continue to do that at the market for right now, that people can come and get a free vaccination. And that includes the new under 18 crowd that's now being recommended for vaccinations. They can come and get them too.
You've got all 3 shots, right?
Yeah, all 3 shots. So it's not that, there's a specific one. They can choose any of the 3 once they come. And they have had some good response. It's just, it's not been steady like you would think it would for vaccinations.
Considering we're only at 50%.
Yeah, and
You're
we would
averaging about
encourage.
2 a week.
Yeah, with the new strain and everything going on and all the changes possibly that we could still see again happening, that there is a free vaccination out there. So, that's one of the big things. And some of the other things we're seeing peaches, and a lot of the different produce coming in. We have 3 new farms that are on board with us this year. They're just doing unbelievable. They started out in June with nothing but like greens, and they can't keep them in. So they've increased their production and harvesting in the fields. So that's one thing that we're seeing that it's good for them. We still have approximately 4 to 6 non-produce vendors. That ranges from soap all the way to candles and some crafts. But in one form or another, most of our vendors is either food / meat and produce and fruit and greenery and plants. So the market is, had completely changed even from last year, that we're more like 60 to 70% produce and plants. Where last year was, when we looked at that number and we talked about it in this meeting, it was about 40%. So that's went from 40 to 70%. That's a big change.
That's because you've been working it, Marie.
Coming up, we've got, this week is Stuff the Bus. We're going to be the grand finale for the United Way Stuff the Bus. So if you know anybody that's got any school supplies that could bring them out, we're going to be a stop point for that. Wonder Universe is doing a great job. They're with us once a month, and they're going to start probably doing twice a month. You talked about, somebody that came and became part of the Christiansburg community, and there was some concern at the council of them changing the name and coming over here. If you haven't had a chance to see it, they've built a farmer's market with a restored John Deere tractor inside Wonder Universe. So people and the kids can experience a farmer's market and a tractor. And then they're coming once a month to the market and doing a scavenger hunt. And part of that scavenger hunt, the kids have to go to every vendor, and every vendor has to sign their card. So hopefully the kids are getting more interested in doing that. And the other thing was the great partnership we've got with Volts and the e-bikes company. We've given away approximately 20 to 30 bike helmets and another 20 Volt backpacks that they recommend for people when they're on these e-bikes. So we've given those out, and we're looking at some other things over the next month with them as school starts back.
Anything else? All right. Moving on to item C. This is for you.
Yes, thank you. So the facade grant program, as you're aware, last night the second round of funding was approved, and so moving forward with working with the applicants to get those improvements complete and payments done. But did want to, well, this is a request from Marissa to put on the agenda as far as a discussion of kind of the program moving forward. As you know, we had 13 applications the first round, and we had, coming out of the pandemic, the spring, we had 5 applications. So we didn't see as much of a surge in applications as we did the first time.
But out of that 5, 3 were new applicants, or vice versa?
Yes, 2 were new.
2.
Yeah, and then 3 were awardees from the first round that were just that were improving upon what the drawings that had already been done for the buildings. So I guess the question, becomes where do we move forward? It is funded. So we were funded last fiscal year that we rolled over for $25,000, and I believe we're estimated to spend $17,000 of it for this round, and then it is funded for an additional $25,000 for as of July 1st this year for next year. So it is funded for a third round if that is the direction.
And I brought this up because I feel a little disappointed that we didn't get more applications this year. We should really have more applicants than we have, grants to give out. So I just wanted to open the floor for discussion to say, is it truly still doing what we hoped that it was going to do? And if it's not, I would open up discussion to retire the idea of the facade grant program, because I don't feel like extending it is going to solve our initial, progress.
Well, based on that, I mean, this is only our second go-around, correct? Yeah, I would like to probably give it one more try. I don't know, and like you say, how do we get new applicants? 'Cause I'm not saying I don't want to fund the same people over and over. We need new applicants, and maybe they're not applying because maybe they don't have the matching grant. Depends on the size of the business or whatever. So how do we advertise it more some way? I mean, I don't know how.
I think we go to every business now.
We do, and I think,
Yeah.
As far as more information out there, I think it's going to help. I mean, there's a certain saturation point, but I do think if we're able to get more information, I do think maybe if we're able to figure out either a online survey that we can target business owners, just see if they have an interest, and kind of get some results back from
And
that.
maybe
Because
once we do that, we can decide if it's worth proceeding, because if we get no responses, then people are just not interested.
Because I did talk with, several business owners that just were interested in the program, and they just didn't end up applying,
And
it
that's
just wasn't the timing, wasn't
I mean, it
right
just
for
is.
them, So there is a bit more interest than people did apply for, but, we had one applicant, that had already kind of been in the middle of renovations, and so it's a little hard to shoehorn the project into our format of working with the artist, having the artist doing a rendering, and then making the improvements based on the rendering.
And that's an applicant this year, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I feel like we handled that
Oh,
well.
okay.
And made a certain accommodation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think so as well.
Well, I know there's been some talk that do we go outside the central business area zone or whatever. I personally right now still like to stay within what we call the central business zone. Because once again, if we start going out, where do we stop? Because then you're going to have this person, well, you could have came one more block. So we don't want to get into that battle, why did you not come one more block? You didn't come intentionally didn't come this way because you didn't want me in. I mean, we know people's going to think that, I say it, but, so do we, I guess for the next, personally, I would think for the next year, budget year, well, we're in a new budget year, aren't we? That we stay within the central business area.
Yeah, if we continue that, I would not want to enlarge the footprint.
Yeah, I think, we're going to.
Yeah, I would keep it central business.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know what the survey says.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's going to tell us a lot. Because you just can't spoon feed a business free grant money.
Oh, no.
I mean, you either want it, you come to the table, or you don't. And that's your choice as a small business owner.
People, someone's offering you money. I mean, you may not use the whole, $4,500. I mean, you spent $2,500.
Yeah. You're doubling your money.
I mean, that's something.
So as a small business owner, not to fill out the paperwork, it's kind of, I have no idea why.
Yeah. I do have a question for you, Andrew. I noticed the applicants that reapplied, the amount of money we gave them was less. Is that based on?
What they had proposed for improvements, and I think it was partly because.
Okay.
I mean, 2 out of the 3 were looking for improvements, I think, to enhance what they've already done, which was 2 of them. Well, actually, all 3 of them were, but 2 of them were for a side of a building that was street facing.
Okay.
That really just hadn't had the attention paid to it, and so so those improvements helped those side views of the building and make it look more complete as well. The improvements and like Palmer Grocery and electrical supply.
So basically, it's based on what they're telling us they're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think with Old Town Barber, they were looking for a roof replacement, which would have been more costly, but I think for the preservation of the existing historic roof, and painting it, which gets at the improvement the building that the owner was looking for, and then also more in line. So I think that's why that cost was lower.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't think the purpose of this particular grant is to really go back and rebuild anyone's business, is to add to it. You know, especially well, I want, once again, a new roof, a new porch, because I don't think that's not the purpose of this.
Right. And they still
Grant.
have the understanding it goes back to original appearance of
Right.
historical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we give some
So
leeway on
there's a
that.
little bit of give and take on
Alright.
what you can do.
Right, okay.
So I can move forward with the survey and work with our,
I think it-
public relations department on that over the,
Okay.
we'll start to get the plan together and, for the best way to reach, the businesses and the property owners as well, since they're not always the same. So.
And again, I'd probably recommend reaching out to DCI because
Mhm.
that's their footprint.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that one? Not, if not, we'll move on down to D, as in David.
So the Town Square Storyboard Project Walkways, in talking with Randy briefly, there was a few items that we wanted to discuss with you.
Two questions I have, and I think they're kind of more details. I know I mentioned the possibility of using actual brick and probably using maybe like a historical brick that we've had from some of our older sidewalks in that. Would you prefer that over like stamping a poured concrete with a dye, or?
I love the idea of a historical brick personally.
Yeah, let's see, we got that, do we have it, well, we don't have that much.
We got the brick, and to be honest, I think we could probably do it as either a contract or with Public Works. I think Jim would probably prefer to do it as a contract just because he's short-handed.
Okay.
Well, we have a lot of wonderful
The
local
price is about the same.
businesses
Okay.
that can handle that. Because I'm sure the work is a little bit more, isn't it?
It's-
There's kind of retrofit old brick that may still have,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to pour, they'll pour a lip in it,
Uh-huh.
and then have to fit the brick all over it.
Right. Okay.
Yes. That's just kind of an example of one of the bricks that we have,
Well, I've seen those, these sidewalks.
Yes.
Look, I've seen them.
I'm not sure how many we have.
We have quite a few.
Okay.
Well, that's a very appropriate place,
I
I think.
personally, I think if we have it, why not use it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it may be, and I'll be stated, just don't have the staff and to do it contract, and I give some guys some,
Yep.
little
You
bit
have
of
a
money.
local business, or hopefully it'll be a local
I may
business.
have a brick up the two L-shaped sidewalks as well, in addition to just the circle.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wanted to know about whether getting water or power to that center is necessary or not, because it's going to be a little bit of work on Public Works to get the water over there. We mentioned the
You're getting a
possibility.
look from Jim.
Well, I see that, but I'm wondering, I'm looking too, because I'm wondering what's the purpose of the water and,
Well, we mentioned possibility of a water fountain.
oh, okay, that's what I'm looking at you.
I forgot the name of it.
No, it gives you water.
Oh,
I
okay.
forgot the name of the style, but it's the one that's got the big globe on top that'll spin with the water, or the water comes over it. And do you remember those images I had sent over?
No.
I remember-
I'll be honest, I don't.
It might have been the art board, I'm not sure.
I don't know, yeah.
Well, anyway, it was something that I felt like we could make ourselves, because it seemed quite simple with a pump. But it had the ball on the top, and I can send you the images. Oh, you got it. You should. Okay.
No, definitely not, no,
So there's a pump at the bottom that
Yeah.
brings it all the way up, and then it goes all over this globe, and then down the side.
Oh, okay.
And then we talked about maybe a dog element down there at the bottom.
Oh, what?
Dog water.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know, you might have had iguana, but, water.
Okay.
But, and then there was talk about, well, how do you keep it clean? Or is it not anything a dog could drink out of, and it's just an element to view?
Yeah.
But I know there's tons of water elements in all kinds of towns and cities. And I was thinking right there in the middle, that would be just great.
So how much work would that be?
To be honest with you, I had no idea.
Okay.
We're trying to build that. We haven't put a whole lot into
I
that
understand.
at this point. It would depend on what we built it out of too, and it'd have to be, pretty sustainable.
Sure, sure. And could we possibly consider bringing the electricity and the water and just capping it off? Because that could be a later element that we know, we can take like a 3-foot diameter section in the middle of the pavers for future projects, even if it's not right now. Because I don't think we could retrofit that later and not disturb all of the work, could we?
No, as far as bringing the utilities to it,
Yeah.
no. It would be better to do that now.
I don't know
You
if I
have a
could
general
fully.
idea where you wanna.
And then, I may not even be here for that decision.
Right.
But the electric and the water would already be there.
Okay, and that's, I guess, when you said that, I'm looking at Randy. When are we planning on starting this project? Our first breaking ground, or what you want to
I
call
think
it.
we should probably write up a bid and put it out pretty quickly. So, I would think that we could probably do that within the next month or so.
Yeah, we just bank on the awarding contractor schedule.
Yes, but like I said, I just kind of wanted to get the details, and if we do want power and water over there, then we need to go ahead and plan
And
it.
do it for,
And question, can you put in the RFP that the work needs to be started and completed by a certain amount of dates, so we know whoever's applying can do it in our timeframe?
Yes.
That would be my recommendation. Kind of an ounce of prevention kind of thing for down the road.
What you gotta be cautious with that is, it'll increase the price
Yeah,
because of their workload that they've already.
I'd probably give them at least a month to do it,
Okay.
at least a month.
So they would be the ones pulling the water and electric, or would you
No,
guys?
we would do that.
Oh.
And I guess I have a question now with the electric on the, not so much for water, but if you want electric just to power like the fountains? Or what are we anticipating
Okay.
using electrical for? Because that'll determine what size.
I think that's a valid
I did
question.
some document.
No.
Oh, this is what it is?
Me at home.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was just me.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
But no, there was a discussion of maybe some lighting in the future. I don't think the Arts Board discussed it, that was just a council comment. So personally, I know that pump doesn't run off of much electricity, but if we did decide to add a light element, I don't know what that even looks like right now, but would that be typical 110?
Yeah, there's options too. We can use LEDs, which are all less.
Right.
And so forth, because we do have a certain amount of power inside the square now for receptacles. Whether we could add to that, like the fountain, it probably wouldn't be that difficult to add to that circuit, pull it over closer.
Right.
But if we start adding several lights, depending on what they draw and.
LED lights in the water facing up on the globe would kill rock. And that would take almost nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, I can create so much work, Jim, it's not funny.
You kind of How tall is this?
About 4 foot.
Okay.
You could make the podium portion as tall as you felt like it, but, But if you make the base where someone can't step in it, but yet it gives you that barrier towards maybe touching,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Well, my question would be, if I have, like say you put a place for dogs to drink, is that, how sanitary is that? Because this water can be re-pumped, correct?
Dogs with their butt.
Well, I know that. So that's not where I was going with this. No, that's not where I was going with this, per se. My thing is, what's it gonna look like when it comes, re-pump, it comes down, the glow is gonna be unattractive.
Right.
I know what dogs do.
You'd have to depend on where the water came from. Was it a fresh one?
Well, that's what I don't know. I'll mix it again, but.
And that's even if we do that, whoever makes those decisions down the road
Yeah.
may or may not.
Did I give you something to think about? That's the fountain?
Sure.
So the Bikeway, Walkway committee, it's been, 4 or 5 years ago, we had a competition. What's actually the winners down at the beginning, or at the entrance, the sculpture. What is your thoughts on having a competition for somebody to suggest what's there and presenting a rendering and doing it that way?
Well, you get into more
Citizen
community,
input, And-
community input.
At that point, I would wonder then, how involved is CI and the museum in that decision? Do you know, Randy? Because I know we were
As
kind
much
of working
input
with
as you
them.
like, you know, that's,
On the arts board portion, we were letting them kind of give us an idea, so
Yeah.
it suited their needs. But the town still has final approval through the arts board and then council. I would assume this might work the same way if the person does it.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were concerned about, once again, is, I don't say this about what, not being rude, we don't want this to necessarily be a CI museum project. To me, they can put the, what do they call it, the boards up, so boards up, but rest of it to me is, should have a lot of town input. But it'd be like, say, from citizens, community, or whatever, you know, we don't want someone to say, well, we don't, or we don't like that. Well, you know, even during our council meeting, they said all they wanted was 3 storyboards. But yeah, still, we might want their, still like their input, but if we don't get into this battle, well, we know the town has some say, so it's town property. So that's something we need to think about, like say, you know, bringing them back in to get their input. 'Cause, you know, we don't feel like we're gonna shut the door and we gave you your 3 storyboard, and that's all you're gonna get. Because they may have some better, some
And
more
there's more
ideas.
storyboards for Christiansburg
Yes.
district too, so I see
Yes,
it as a joint
yeah.
effort. Plus the museum's gonna be right there now too.
Yeah, I know. So it's gonna be a lot on that square. All right.
Especially if we decide that that center element can be done down the road.
Yeah.
If we choose to do that, then there's plenty of time. But if we do want to get it moving and done, then I don't think it's time.
So now, I guess I can tell you, the main thing is to get the power and water located or whatever. So.
That would be my goal.
So that's the,
Yeah.
okay, that's my
And I
main-
realize that might cost a little bit more, but even if you do open up all the citizen input and narrow it down to 4 choices, and then there's committees such as this who
But at least it, okay.
has the museum and CI involved,
Mhm.
they can all give us input together and then make a final decision. I think that's one way to include the public more.
Okay.
Which means that it may end up being next year,
Yeah.
you know, type of project and focus on how much money it's going to take.
Right.
And even perhaps if it does look artsy, it gets sent to the arts board to continue.
So that's what I'm saying, it could be a lot more hands involved in it,
Yeah.
other than
Yeah.
pulling water. Well, I guess you do pull water.
I just think not to have that.
Whatever you want to do with it.
You want to call it?
Yeah.
All right.
I'd rather be safe than sorry. That's what I would vote for now. And then I would vote for this center element being up for discussion next year with a new council and see where it goes. How do you feel?
All right. So restate that.
Okay.
What did you do?
Pull the water and the electric now.
Yeah, okay.
Bring this up with the new council, whether you keep it in central business or send it to the arts board. I don't see it getting done this year. Getting that started next year with the new
Okay.
people and then going to the public at that time if they choose that is the right way to go.
I can go with that.
Because then by
Yeah,
the
'cause
time the
every-
weather breaks, we'll be ready to get back on that element.
Yeah.
And then it's giving you guys some time to not feel pressured.
Yeah.
Because it is, we're wanting to get it going, so I really think this might hold it up because we don't have a solid final decision.
Okay.
And I don't want to rush into them. That's my 2 cents.
All right, sounds good to me.
Okay.
I can understand what you say, but yeah, I
Okay.
did. But yeah, I mean.
Did the note taker understand?
Yes, so if we know the location, then it's a matter of just, you know, when the concrete circular pad is done, then we would just be drilling through to that location to pull water or electrical, no?
We'd have to pull it now.
You'd want to pull it now, and then I'm assuming you want them both in the center of the,
So you pull it on.
so we would have to pull it up and put like a blank over it to where you could easily access it.
Okay.
We'll have to see what works best to where it would be aesthetically pleasing and still have that utility there.
And preferably round, you know, the circle's round, because I know that was there. Show somebody with OCD.
Okay, all right.
All right, I'm done with that.
Use electricity from solar
else on this? If not, we're gonna move right here to E.
Very good. So, I think the Rally Grant folks did have a meeting last night, and they're moving forward with the pocket park. You know, as you know, they have final design, and they were able to raise quite a bit of money. You know, this past spring, well, I guess it was early summer with the Give Big Day, and so they are working with the contractor to finalize the work for the square, and they're hoping to get that in and cleaned up before Wilderness Trail. I mean, I think there would still be, my understanding is there would still be landscaping work to be done and such, but at least the concrete work would be completed by the second or third week of September.
I'm not a gardener, but you know, you have certain times when you can plant things and you shouldn't, and I think that's kind of what they're trying to do, is schedule that out correctly. But they do have the master gardeners and people with that knowledge.
So at this point, it's hopefully, you know, they may be under construction by the time we meet in August.
Okay.
We'll see where that goes.
All right. Anything else on that?
Nothing else on that.
All right, moving right along. We're doing good. Adam, F.
I did have one item, with the gathering space on Hickok Street. You know, as we received that Appalachian Regional Commission grant, they are going to be looking to get us under contract in the next month and a half. So there will be some non-discrimination documents and other federal documents that will need to go before council in August. So just wanted to give you a heads up that will be coming back, you know, to council, and that will probably generate some more conversation about the gathering space and the timetable. As a reminder, we are looking at dovetailing this project in when the drainage project finishes up and on Hickok Street, which would be hopefully the end of 2022. The drainage project is a little bit delayed right now because of easement acquisition is slower with private landowners than what we would have liked to have been. So, but we would be looking to do that as soon as we can after, you know, the project. But we would be looking to design the gathering space, farmers market structure this fall.
When will they start? When are they planning on starting work on Hickok Street?
So they're hoping like late summer, early fall, but it may be later fall before they start.
So is there a final design, kind of the last one that we saw, is that still valid?
So the design that we would have to start with, you know, with the and we would have to have additional meetings and get public input, but basically the designer would be looking to take this to construction drawings and you know, finalizing material and details such as lighting and types of bollards and all the other details that we need to
A
do.
question on that, because we didn't get as much as we thought, are any of these plans going to be scaled down?
So we think that, you know, material, you know, we think we can still have the same size structure. You know, whether we're able to do, the material may be different anyways, which probably would be desirable anyways, because we're all going to want to be on the same page as far as the durability of material and that's going to last. And we may be able to either have some of the material lay down be part of the drainage project. I mean, because that's part of the drainage project is to replace Hickok Street. So we think we can coordinate those two projects.
Yeah.
So we do have some cost savings potentially there on the gathering space.
But the delay in the project would not affect us getting the grant?
Getting
Still get it?
the grant?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
What's the deadline on that?
well, we would need to have, we need to get under contract with the Department of Housing and Community Development and which administers the Appalachian Regional Commission grant. So once we get under contract with them, then we would set the timeframe. But I mean, I think 6 months to 9 months isn't going to be a big deal. If it's a year out, that's going to be a problem. Because once we get under contract, then we're committed to the project and to to spending the dollars, and it's harder to get out of the contract. So.
And there's a lot of delays in manufacturing and back orders.
Right.
We gotta make sure that's in the contract because some things are beyond our control.
Absolutely, and I think they're experiencing that with all their contracts across the state.
Yeah,
as
just wanna
well,
make sure
so,
we're not
yeah.
pigeonholed.
Yeah, absolutely. And
But
we're working with the regional commission
Yeah.
on that, and they've worked with UCD a lot with different projects and contracts and such. So
And I was
we'll
saying,
make sure
Marty,
we're
too,
protected.
like, this might still solve the concern you have about reaching, local people downtown that don't make it to the other market. And, this doesn't always have to be farmer's market. I can see it with all different types of.
Well, we did, we experimented with the lunch crowd. Well, we never really expanded it to include additional offerings other than the restaurants that were downtown. And 2 years ago, we didn't even have as many as we do now. So, that's a possibility with the gathering place, with the further design outside of the roof area, whether it be bricks or concrete, and some gathering area with tables.
Yeah, I thought the plan was great. They have those wood platforms on it with the tables and such. And I think bathrooms are definitely helpful down there. It's not on the image, but is that still part of the plan?
As far as we had talked with potentially the adjacent property owner that's looking at doing a building, could that be a public-private partnership to have a bathroom within that building, that would be outward facing. As far as the final design and potentially putting a bathroom, within the structure, that's certainly something that, we could look at, but it was not part of this initial design.
Just for the record, I'm not a fan of sharing responsibility of a bathroom.
Yeah.
I think it should be standalone by the town, personally. I can just see future issues with that.
And we're now having standalone restrooms at our parks, and we're, so we'll be seeing how those work over time.
Kind of my idea is talking with Alcorns, if they were to put a bathroom in, that we would basically condo it, so it would be the town's. We pay them X amount of dollars for the construction and the space, but that once we did that, it would be the town's bathroom.
But still on their property.
Yes.
Yeah, just for the record, I'm putting it out there, not a fan.
And even if this, looking at this preliminary work, there is one and possibly two-way traffic still on the street. And, when people hear about it and look at it, because where the white car is, there is traffic on non-farmers market days. So, that was always the question about Hickok Street.
Right.
Yeah.
These plans do show at least one-way and possibly two-way traffic still in place.
Yeah, because, we heard about that. Why did we shut it down?
But to be fair, just one block over is another way to get to college.
But, what you said is some of the things I brought to Andrew about amenities, electricity, the lights, and what other things we might need to look at.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to look at, too, when you're talking, you can see it at the farmer's market now, when we pull a vehicle in and that's the idea, is the roof spot, they would pull a vehicle in and set up similar to what you see at other markets that have a rooftop area. So they would be selling. So it's going to be a high roof for the vehicle to get under. But you're going to have to allow for that length of a vehicle. And then if we were going to allow some more on the opposite side for pop-up tents. And there's a lot of things to still consider that needs to be done.
And this was considered with retractable. We've said, during, that could be brought back as well, so.
Yeah. To have that other flow.
And durability, constructability, we'll have to evaluate as well from a retractable roof standpoint.
Is the thought that this would be for next farmer's market?
So it would be 2023.
Okay.
That would be the earliest.
too.
And we don't know what's gonna happen between now and then. Farmers market's doing great. At
Yeah.
Parks and Rec. You know.
That would be my only concern, is we don't want to relocate and then we miss those 600 people.
Yeah.
And so maybe the idea of you're doing it twice a week, and Thursday is at the rec center and Saturday is downtown. I think just keeping our minds open to those things, because we're missing people downtown, and potentially some of the folks with EBT. We need to provide that service, but we also don't want to leave these other people that we've gained, so finding that balance.
And I do see it way more than just farmers market. I see this could be what it is for a plethora of options.
Yeah, I mean, for the special events,
Yeah.
the Christmas in the market, the
Yeah.
arts and crafts, the different things we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's no reason, that the town cannot, in 3 years, have a Saturday market.
Yeah,
Where-
right.
And I think, I totally echo,
It's just a fine line there, because everyone else is Saturday markets, we will probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have as many vendors, which would be okay if we had a secondary market.
And the only thing that makes me not feel like this must be a market for some of those is that there is a Dollar General right across the street that does still offer produce within a walking distance. So it's not that there's no service to people who need it, it's just not our service that's going down there.
Well, I think this whole idea will promote or convince some businesses to maybe open something different downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Alcorns have talked about different things right next to Hickok. So this not necessarily is like Blacksburg's College Avenue, but it's similar because it would be a gathering spot that people could go eat and different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, but it's not just a quote farmers markets, but people come out and do different things,
Gathering place.
Yeah.
And it could be a nice street with the, if you have enough bricks left over or anything like that to reconstruct.
It creates that place where people get out and enjoy their downtown. And with the park space across the street, and, with the square, and everything, it provides, the ability for people to be someplace to be leisurely, and services will start to follow as well. As we're seeing the microbrewery down here, and,
They're pretty busy, but I see. I'll be honest, I was concerned about people, but it's marked off, and people.
With the food truck setting up, with the food truck setting up?
I missed that one.
Okay,
I saw the cones, but I
Friday,
missed the truck
Saturday is the
itself.
first.
Yeah, I missed the truck itself, I saw where they had, I guess that's why the cones were parked, so that's where the truck was sitting, but I was gonna go by just to see, of course.
Have we heard any feedback from them, how that went?
Not this week, but, we just worked with them, on Friday to get everything finalized. Sounds good.
All right.
That's all.
Any other business? If not, this meeting is adjourned. Once again, I think we had a good meeting. See y'all when we see you.
Tomorrow. Farmers market.
Yes.
Don't worry, you think I'm gonna miss?
I know you're not. I've been there every time I've been there.
Well, I try and make it.
So it'll be August 25th. Will be our scheduled next meeting.
Okay.
One time you made it 3 times.
I
You
did.
left to go back, you left to come
I
back.
did. Y'all may get a different
We
view.
were there for 4 hours.
We'll get a different view, Yeah, all right. All right.
Good. All right.
Sounds good.
So he's gonna be like, you ain't going nowhere for a while.
So these might have been out on South Franklin.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank.
So across from Mockingbird.
But see, that was, it's okay, because
We still got a few, I guess, up here on Junkin Street, there's still some brick sidewalks.
that's what I was thinking, and even on First
I thought
Street.
that's where I saw it.
Actually, Hickok